Digivices. One of the most consistent and beloved elements of the Digimon franchise. While core tenets of the franchise like partner Digimon in Frontier or conventional Digivolution in Cross Wars may change, Digivices remain a constant, a brilliant aspect of the franchise which has kept merchandise alive and created some really cool designs over the years. But I've already talked about my top 10 Digivices across all media, and the anime does tend to dominate the Digivice sphere. So today I want to talk about Digivices that we never saw in anime. The slightly more unknown, rarer Digivices from manga, video games, and some that never even really existed. On today's video, let's do a top 10 of those. Happy Holidays! What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to Karn's Holiday Hootenanny 2024, and it is your last video before Christmas. So, Digivices. Obviously, some of my favorites in the anime are the D3 from Digimon Adventure 02, specifically Ken's. I don't know if I've ever brought it up before though, I mean it's kind of neat I guess, I don't know. And the D arc from Digimon Tamers, which is also kind of cool. But recently I've been thinking a lot about the non-anime Digivices, some that I want replicas of that simply don't exist. And my number 10 pick is, well, one that I could get physically if I wanted to, but is a really cool Digivice attached to a Digimon property that I'm less hot on, and that is Digimon Seekers. If you're not familiar, Digimon Seekers was the novel slash trailer slash products, what does that even mean, thing that Digimon tried to do a year or so back, as there was no airing anime after Digimon Ghost Game and they were trying to promote the Digimon Vital Bracelet still, which turned out great, but I really like the design of the Digimon linker in Digimon Seekers. You could buy the band and it was super cool looking, much more angular and spiky, and Lugamon as a partner with that Vital Bracelet Digivice was really cool. I was a big fan in general of the Vital Bracelet, and it was very exciting when I saw things like Digimon Ghost Game start to use the Vital Bracelet, or at least an iteration on it, the Digivice V and the Digivice Dual V, as a Digivice in its own right. And this carrying on to Seekers I think was a great idea. Seekers also kind of had some other Digivices, like original Digimon Docs, which were kind of Digivices in that novel, and we even had that prototype Digimon V-Pet, which kind of acted as a Digivice too. The Digimon linker I doubt will go down as one of the most iconic Digivices of all time, but it is in the Hall of Fame for me specifically for that era of Vital Bracelet Digivices. Moving over to another Digivice is one that a lot of you maybe don't even realize is truly a Digivice, and that is the set of Digivices from Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And what's really interesting about Cyber Sleuth, and something that I'd like to see in an anime, although kind of balanced a little bit better so they can actually sell merchandise, is that basically anything could be a Digivice in Cyber Sleuth. We have like Nokia, who uses a phone, pretty funny, to the MCs of Cyber Sleuth, who their goggles are Digivices. Oh my god, why have we never seen that in a mainline anime? Like 90% of your main characters in Digimon anime have goggles, they're goggle heads, and yet we've never had a set of goggles be a Digivice in the anime? That's insane! While the focus isn't really on the Digivice designs in Cyber Sleuth, they tend to be a little bit more generic looking, I do like the way each character with one gets a different kind of device, and that the Digivice remains an essential tool for the character, or I guess us, as we use it to do basically every menu action in the Cyber Sleuth games. Yeah, when you open that menu, the top left says Digivice. We're using our Digivice. Similarly, my number 8 pick is the Digivices from Digimon Redigitize and Decode. These are a little bit more prominent than the Cyber Sleuth ones, I would say. Still a little bit background, however. Tiger and Nikolai have Digivices on their arms, for example, almost like those phone holders you can use for running. And just like Cyber Sleuth would do, the Digivice is the menu of these games. And looking at this concept art of Tiger, it's a very basic phone-like Digivice, but also looks kind of similar to designs we've seen of V-Pets historically. Next up is one a lot of you probably have just never seen because it's from a game that a lot of you have never played. Digimon New Century, the Chinese exclusive mobile game, which has a lot of story to it, an incredible amount of story, and it deliberately is a callback to Digimon Adventure. One of the pieces of key art in Digimon New Century is the main character of New Century reaching through time with his partner Agumon to tie an Agumon. And in my opinion, of all of the ones in all Digimon media, this is the best looking smartphone style Digivice. While I do like the Last Evolution Kizuna style ones, they're more like phones with cool looking cases that connect to Digivices. They're Digivice proxies more than they are actual Digivices. But the D0 looks great while also homaging the Digivice 1 from V-Tamer and indeed the Digivice from Adventure with its name, D0, D1, Digivice. And I also like that sort of Avengers 2012 style futurism idea of transparent technology with screens projected inside them. While it's probably not something we're ever actually gonna do because the glare would probably be insane, that that level of transparent technology is something that feels very futuristic and is appropriate for the setting of Digimon New Century. It's in a new century. It's a great looking Digivice, very simple, but what I think all other smartphone style Digivices should be aiming towards. And indeed, if we do get a new Digimon season in 2025, this style of Digivice I think would be a great compromise, because you could still sell it as a toy, but also if it does have like a Digivice app on it, you could also install that for smartphones. Why do we not have a full-on Digivice or VPET app for Digimon yet? The closest we ever got was Digimon Eirias, which had like a little widget you could put on your home screen, which had like a little VPET style sprite. Technically, there was also a PSP game that was portable, I guess. Not really the same thing. Next up is the Digivice Pendulum X from Digimon Chronicle, which is just a Digivice version of the Digimon Pendulum X VPET. We talked about this a little bit with the Digimon Linker, but there is a sort of all jacuzzis are hot tubs, but not all hot tubs are jacuzzis thing going on with Digimon VPETs and Digivices. Not every single VPET that is ever released is a Digivice. This is a common misconception. Although I guess they could be used as a Digivice. You're still training a creature on there, but Digivice is something else, usually narrative related, like in Digimon manga or Digimon anime or video games. So the Digivice Pendulum X is a Digivice version in media of the real Digimon Pendulum X toy. This is also why things like the D3 toys of the time are often not considered VPETs. I consider them VPETs because you're raising a creature, but they are missing things like feeding, poop, etc. But then if we look at things like the Digimon Vital Bracelet, that's also missing elements like poop. So the line between a VPET and a Digivice starts to blur. For those unfamiliar, Digimon Chronicle was supposed to be a successor to Digimon V-Tamer, the manga. However, it ended up being more like a book with pictures than a full-on manga. However, it was what eventually inspired things like the Digimon X Evolution movie. This focus on the X antibody were a huge component in Chronicle, which would shape a lot of Digimon media going forward. Obviously Digimon X Evolution, but even Alphamon's appearance in Tri and the whole Yggdrasil trying to like reboot the universe thing has links leading directly back to the Yggdrasil and X antibody of Chronicle. And the Pendulum X is just such a great design for a VPET and indeed a Digivice. This sleek credit card style, which would go on to inspire things like the Digimon Axel, which technically has never been a Digivice or else it would be on this list. It was featured in Digimon Seekers. I was tempted to include it, but I won't. But with that X antibody indicator, it looks so clean. It is such a fantastic Digivice. I wish this had been in an actual prominent anime at some point. I think this easily could have been the season after Frontier. Not that there's anything wrong with the Digivice I see from Savers. Because we got all these colors for the Pendulum X, including this gold one, which is incredible, it has cemented itself in my mind not just as a VPET, but a full-on fantastic Digivice. And if you've read Chronicle or seen anything from it, it's becoming more pertinent now than ever. The X antibody dominates things like the Digimon card game, and Cool Boy, who was in Digimon Chronicle, is now a very big character in Digimon Liberator. New set of cards in the card game even have the Chronicle trait in them. So maybe we'll actually get to see him use the Digivice Pendulum X in an upcoming chapter of Digimon Liberator. Speaking of Digimon Liberator, it actually has its own Digivice, which I think is incredibly cool. If you've watched this channel for a while now, you'll know that I've been championing for a Digimon TCG anime. And after I made that video, we got a Digimon TCG webcomic acting as a replacement or a stopgap until an anime came out in many ways. And the D-storage from Digimon Liberator is the exact kind of thing I was thinking of when I pitched that season. It's a deck box that contains the partner Digimon's essence as well, their data, and even lights up depending on the coloration of the Digimon inside it. Unfortunately, the toy version of the D-storage, or I guess the deck box version of the D-storage, we're entering a weird level of merch here where they're practical things. Like you can use the D-storage as a deck box, but it's also a Digivice toy based on Digimon Liberator. It completely lacks any LEDs. This is incredibly disappointing to me. Now, okay, yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying if someone shows up to locals and they've got a deck box with light and sound. I get it. Plus, it would take up valuable space inside or make the outside more bulky so that it would be less useful for storing cards in it. But I do wish at some point they would release like a D-storage DX, a complete selection animation D-storage, or I guess a complete selection webcomic D-storage device that had LED, maybe some sounds from Terramon, Shumon, some other characters from Digimon Liberator. Regardless though, such a great idea to take what is a very iconic Digivice design. The circular, what would be a screen in other Digivices, the kind of off-white grayish color we're familiar with from things like the Digivice from Adventure, but really squaring it up, making it into a deck box. It's instantly iconic, a fantastic Digivice. What's more iconic than one Digivice? Two Digivices in one. Yeah, I have to talk about the Digimon Twin here because it is so slept on. So the Digimon Twin is again a VPET, but it's also from the manga Digimon Next. The Digimon Twin was kind of created in the story of Digimon Next later into the narrative, because in Digimon Next, originally they used Digivice ICs, the same as the ones from Digimon Savers or Data Squad. The reason for this is actually really interesting. According to Takeshi Akano, Digimon NEX was originally planned to be a comic adaptation of the anime Digimon Savers, similar to what we saw with the Digimon Cross Wars and Appmon manga. However, because Digimon Savers was delayed, they changed it into its own original story. This is why Digimon NEXT has the Digivice IC, like I said, but also has partner Digimon like Agumon 2006 and Gaomon digivolving into Geogreymon and so on, but there are changes, like the Digimon Twin introducing Victory Greymon and Zeed Garurumon, and that is fantastic, and one reason I will always love these Digivices. These were like very traditional, like Digimon Tamers or even Power Rangers Sentai style, where the original Digivice ICs were destroyed and then replaced with the Digimon Twin. These were Joy-Cons a decade before Joy-Cons. Digimon did it first. But really, it's such a cool idea. The twin matching pair looks so great, especially the kind of default black and orange, where you get a small bit of black and mainly orange here, and a small bit of orange and mainly black here. It feels super evocative of the original Digimon V-Pet, but also evolves the concept, and that whole L&R style just works really well to me. I like to see this concept revisited in future, because I do like the idea of someone having a Digivice that works together, connects together, because I'm a big fan of modular technology. And as a fan of modular technology, my next Digivice that you've never seen in anything is because it never came out. And that is the Digimon Force 3. If you would like to do a full deep dive into the Digimon Force 3, I did a full video dedicated to it a couple of years back. Just made a new thumbnail for that, so if you want to check it out, that would be lovely. But basically, at some point, whether it was in Japan or just specifically Bandai US, which is what showed off this toy, there was plans to do a sequel series to Digimon Frontier set 100 years after. The story of this Digimon Force 3 was that there was a small conflict in 3 areas of the digital world, which then grew until only chaos and disorder remained. But there is a glimmer of hope. The leaders of the 3 areas have come from the real world, and they've been given all the powers of the Digivice to help them restore peace. They've been given the awesome responsibility of defeating the evil Hydemon, which we've also never had. I think that is something that Liberators should do. Finally create a Hydemon. I know it's more of a Bandai US thing, but still, before he completely destroys the digital world. And as we see in this early marketing, there is the Hyper Digivice, which kind of resembles things we've seen before, like the IC, the Fusion Digivice, which feels like a weird take on the Axel weirdly, and then the Armor Digivice, which, goddamn, that looks so cool and metal. But notably, all 3 would be able to connect together, and when they do connect together, that looks a lot like that kind of Agumon head that we see in a lot of Digimon media. It was also supposed to work with the Detector card game, just like Digivice toys of Bandai US of the time. This is a relic lost to time, but because it is so cool and modular and also incredibly goofy and stupid looking, this has stuck out to me when I first found out about it and continues to stick out to me to this day. My penultimate pick is also a Digivice toy that I will likely never own, but does exist and is purchasable, the D-Cyber Digivice from the Digimon D-Cyber manhwa. So Digimon D-Cyber was a Chinese exclusive manhwa with its own story, but it was heavily based on the Digimon Pendulum X and Digimon Chronicle. So you see similarities in D-Cyber, like the main guy having a partner Dorumon, with another character having a Ryudamon that becomes the other half of that line, and some cool stuff like Agumon, Greymon X Antibody, and Metal Greymon X Antibody, even ending up as an Omekamon. But the Digivice is what steals the show for me. I am a 90s kid, I was born in 1993. Flip phones were and forever will be the coolest thing ever, and the D-Cyber being a flip phone, man, what a cool Digivice. It's very like militaristic, kind of like rugged flip phone, but this is what we could have had if Last Evolution Kizuna released 20 years earlier than it did. I want to get my hands on one of these one day. It evokes things to me like the Power Rangers Wild Force Morpher. It looks incredibly cool, and I love that you flip it up to actually do all the V-Pet components in the toy. This is an absolute white whale of my Digimon collection, and I do want to own one day. It looks phenomenal. And that brings us finally to the last Digivice of this video. An absolutely iconic Digivice which has gone on to inspire, I think, at least one other Digivice in Digimon's history, and that is, of course, the Digivice 01 from Digimon V-Tamer. A wrist-based Digivice all the way back in the 90s. Something we wouldn't actually get in the anime until Digimon Ghost Game. Before someone actuallys me, yes, there was the Appmon band from Appmon, but that was not the Digivice. It was a companion to the Digivice. It was more like Appmon's equivalent of the D-Terminal than it was the Digivice equivalent. Everyone as a kid loved a cool watch or one of those spy watches, right? So Digivice 01 being just that was awesome to me. It's so 90s, reminding me of things like the Pokegear from Pokemon Gold and Silver, which are my favorite Pokemon games. Well, Crystal is technically, and you can see how it inspired other Digivices going forward. Obviously, it's very visually similar to the Digivice from Adventure. Obviously, the Digivice V, like I said, and even right up to the D storage, which has a very similar design philosophy to the Digivice 01 and the Digivice from Adventure. Specifically Neo's in that darker shade. Also, you can see how that led to things like Ken's D3 in Digimon Adventure 02, a darker take on the protagonist's lighter version. It's so cool with the little antenna. I think people these days probably would think it was less cool and much more outdated, but as someone that did grow up in the 90s and the early 2000s, discovering this later in life was absolutely peak. It looks phenomenal. They've never, as far as I know, released even a prototype of a Digivice 01 toy, but Bandai, if you want me to give you $1,000 right now, a wrist-mounted wearable Digivice 01 with an antenna that folds out, it doesn't have to do anything, although if it picked up FM radio, that would be insane, with a full color VPAT on there, like those new 25th anniversary Digivice toys you released, I think you would get a significant amount of sales, because this is one of the most iconic and long-lasting Digivices in Digimon history. Its echoes can literally be felt to this very day. Alright, that is it. My list of 10 Digivices not from Digimon anime that I believe are some of the most peak Digivices in history. Let me know your favorite Digivice in the comments down below. It does not have to be one from this list. It can be one from other media, especially anime. Of course, as I said in the intro, I'm a big fan of the D3 and the D arc. Thank you to my sovereigns, ZDK14 and Ram McGrayfire, as well as everyone else who supports me over on patreon.com/Karn EX, and my channel members here on YouTube for holding it down. You guys are phenomenal, and I will see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye!